All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our webinar presented by Nutmeg Independent Labor Unions and the Law Office of Eric Brown. Tonight, we're going to be talking about becoming a better union leader. Monitoring your contract, the two or three most important provisions of the contract that you should know. The grievance procedure. Every contract has a separate section on grievances. As a union leader, that's the most important provision for you to know about. You need to know what's grievable, when to file it by, and why you're filing it. And the reason that you file a grievance is always to improve the conditions of employment compared to where they were before filing the grievance. So if you think you can gain an improvement either through negotiation or litigation of a grievance, you file it. And that's why our position as a default always is, if someone wants to file a grievance, get it in, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with it as we proceed. It's important to know what the timelines are. Some time limitations are as short as 5 working days. So you need to understand how quickly you have to get those grievances in, and you got to get them in on time, because if you don't, the grievance is lost forever, and you don't want to be the person who failed to file the grievance on time. And lastly, sometimes I'll get questions about, can we grieve this or that? You can grieve it if the contract says you can. And the contract will say a grievance is defined as X. And typically the language says a grievance is defined as a misinterpretation or a breach of a provision in the contract or a policy and procedure or a past practice. It may not say all those things, but generally it's going to be one of those 3 things that's going to be grievable. Next, promotions, transfers, and assignments. These are sticky wickets for us as a union, particularly when there's questions over promotional process, because someone gains and someone loses and they're both in the same bargaining unit. So it's important for us as union leaders to ensure that before the promotional process even starts, that the employer is following the language of the contract to a T. Once they start down the promotional process road and they've done it incorrectly, somebody's going to get hurt and they're going to point a finger at us as the union. So we need to police the promotion, transfer, and assignment language as strongly as any part of the contract, because it impacts people's work lives. And so if you ever have questions about that, get in touch with us. But we can usually fix a problem if we know about it beforehand. If it's after the fact, that's when it becomes dicey. And finally, knowing your value. The best and most important way to figure out what your value is to know what other people in similar jobs are getting paid in comparable communities. Today, unlike the way it was 10 years ago, we can find almost any contract for any bargaining unit in the state online. The largest purveyor of those contracts is the Yankee Institute. So if you go to the Yankee Institute website, a notoriously anti-union organization, they are helpful to us in that they have the contracts online. It's a good way for us to find what other folks are getting paid, not only in terms of wages, but also in terms of benefits. And once we're armed with that information, it can help us understand where our members are at relative to other people in the workforce and give us some leverage in negotiation.